What's up, guys? We're back with Hope You're Happy Lemon chapter 68, and yeah, we're just gonna hop straight into it. So off the last chapters, we had Lemon wanting to go and confront Sunao about her past, like her traumas, and basically Lemon just wanted to give the reason as to why she broke up with him, right? Why she said that she was cheating on him with 3 other dudes or whatever. And yeah, that's kind of where we're leaving off. Basically, in this chapter, I thought Lemon was gonna go and explain, but what ends up happening is that we just get the aftermath of Sunao and Lemon's interaction together, right? We don't get any of their conversation of what went down, but we did get the flashback in the previous chapters. With that being said, let's just hop straight into it. So they're done with their conversation, and Sunao's just like, I'll walk you back. And right now, Sunao is very apologetic, right? He's saying that back when they were dating, he felt like there should have been more that he could have done to help her in that situation, and that he just basically feels really bad about it, how he wasn't able to be like a safe haven for Lemon to, explain her troubles to him. But yeah, Lemon's just saying, don't worry about it. It was her fault that she couldn't communicate properly. I think in this situation, Sunao's just trying to be optimistic, trying to make sure Lemon feels okay and comfortable around him. Because yeah, it's not, really all that much of Sunao's fault for not being emotionally available. Of course he could have done better, but I think in my personal opinion, it was more of just Lemon just going through some stuff, right? But yeah, I guess now Sunao kind of holds a grudge against the people that were in Lemon's class. But yeah, Lemon's just trying to reassure him that she wasn't trying to get him all riled up because of this. She just wanted to let things off of her chest. And yeah, right after this, we get something very interesting, right? What he says is, you can cause me all the trouble you want. I don't mind when it's you. What does this mean? It's interesting, right? On one hand, what we've been getting from Sunao out of this entire story so far was, hey, I don't want to get back with Lemon. I've, fallen in love with Kokohara. I did not have her as a replacement for Lemon. But with their interactions together, and after Lemon explained the whole situation to him, it does seem like he's might be switching teams a little bit. This isn't really what I wanted to happen in the story, because it's like, it's just the characters being more flip-floppy, not really sticking to what they said they would stick to, sticking to their word. But if this is how the story's gonna progress, that's just how it's gonna be. Basically what he's getting at is that he still cares for Lemon, but then he instantly snaps back and says, oh, just because we're friends, right? So I'm here for whatever you need. And yeah, Lemon's just like, okay, fine, I'll tell you everything that happens from now on. And yeah, I don't know. We get a panel of Sunao saying, thinking to himself, asking if what he just said was super weird. He's embarrassed. He's kind of flustered a little bit. I don't know what to think of Sunao right now. He's very wishy-washy. In this chapter, especially. Basically in the last chapter as well, he was also a little on the fence, it seemed like, but here it really seems like he's on the fence about having feelings for Lemon. I guess it's rightfully so. It was his, first ever girlfriend, first ever crush, and then now that he realizes that they broke up not because they fell out of love, but for, different situations, it seems like to me that it's coming back to him, his first love. But yeah, whatever, we'll move on from that. And they just continue to talk, right? Just having a little back and forth. And then, the topic of Kokohara gets brought up, and Sunao is interested in how Lemon met Kokohara because, that's like her best friend now. And of course, Sunao, still having his crush on Kokohara, wants to know about how she was like in the past. But yeah, Lemon doesn't want to tell Sunao why or how they met, because as we saw in the flashback, it would be embarrassing for her. Maybe this was why the author didn't write the flashback as part of this chapter while Lemon was explaining it to Sunao, just because we have the whole Kokohara thing as part of the flashback. And if he didn't want Lemon to just tell Sunao how Kokohara and her met, that kind of makes sense. That's my personal opinion. I wish we just got flashback while we're explaining it. So basically they just keep having this little back and forth with each other, kind of teasing, flirting a little bit. And Sunao's just kind of relieved, and he says, the fact that you don't see us as a horrible mistake or something is huge already, right? And then Lemon instantly denies, because she's trying to reassure him that she didn't fall out of love with him, or it wasn't she didn't regret dating him. And then we get a bombshell that she drops, right? And she says, dating you was the happiest I've ever been. Maybe she didn't realize it, how forward she's being right now, but she basically is saying, hey, being with you was, the happiest I've ever been, and I haven't been happier since. Um, and also, I never fell out of love with you. So what does this mean? At least in Sunao's eyes, he kind of, has a blank stare, but he doesn't really react in the moment to it. And yeah, he kind of just like pretends like she didn't say anything, but he does think about it, right? And yeah, he basically just kind of quickly changes the subject, and that's kind of that. But yeah, the intrusive thoughts do kick in, and he's just thinking like, well, does that mean that Lemon still loves me? But right, he snaps out of it, and he's like, I can't be thinking like that. And yeah, it's just a weird situation, right? It's like, does she love me? Does she not? Type of thing. In my opinion, it's just like, I would like to see some development with him and Kogohara. I wouldn't like it just to be like, oh, well, we spent, the last 50 chapters with him trying to develop a relationship with Kogohara, and then he just instantly drops her for Lemon. But I do kind of understand the sentiment of like, hey, this was my first love, and I never truly got over her. And yeah, I guess if they did get together, if Lemon and Sunao got back together, it would make for a much cleaner story, right? Because Kogohara and Sunao aren't technically like dating yet. They're getting closer to each other, of course, but they're not dating, so it wouldn't be super messy. It would be messy if Sunao started dating Kogohara and then Lemon got back into the mix, right? That's what I thought was gonna happen. I honestly like that idea better just because I want to see, I don't know if it would be train wrecky, but I think it would make for a more interesting story rather than just shafting Kogohara like immediately. Because a lot of series do that, where it's like we have this little love interest at the beginning and then they just get shafted, which I just wouldn't prefer to see with this story, because I do think the concept is good. But yeah, basically it's just kind of Sunao going back and forth in his head, just really overthinking about everything that's happened in his time with Lemon, essentially. And yeah, he's just conflicted because he doesn't know what to think. He says he didn't fall in love with Kogohara to forget about Lemon, but who really knows? If you go back and look at the first chapter, he is kind of like pretty salty about the whole situation. When he meets Lemon again, he's like she's a witch, but it's just, I don't know. We'll just have to see what goes on and like what's gonna happen. But yeah, after him thinking and contemplating all night, and then what happens is we cut to the morning, and he wakes up in Lemon's body yet again, right? They switch bodies every other day, and today was no different. He does seem a little disappointed because he thought maybe that would be the trigger for them to stop switching bodies. If they confronted their past and whatever, maybe that would be like the signal for them to stop. If I remember correctly from the first chapter, it was a wish on Lemon's part that they would, that she would see Sunao again. And that's kind of when they started to switch bodies. So it was like kind of wishing upon a star type thing. A little bit like Your Name. But yeah, we still don't really know the method behind like the switch. That would honestly be a super cool concept if we do get that. Like maybe there is an actual trigger for like why they switch back and forth. But right now it's unclear. And what I would like, and if that can happen, like if we can like understand what the switch is, like what triggers it, what I would find to be really cool is, even if like Kogohara doesn't, she's not like the main girl or whatever, I think it would be super interesting if they could start switching if she could switch bodies with them as well, right? I honestly think that would be super cool. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see kind of thing. We're gonna keep going on with the chapter. We're basically at the end, and Sunao in this case is in Lemon's body. She walks out of the room, or he walks out of the room, and is confronted with Lemon's dad. He seems like a very stoic kind of character, and he's like super quiet, but he's like kind of scary, kind of weird. But yeah, he tries to go and escape, saying that I'm just gonna go back to my room. But then Lemon's dad says, "Are you free today? And let's head out." Right, and that's the end of the chapter. So it looks like we're going to go and get a Sunao and Lemon's dad bonding moment. It's gonna be kind of like a father-daughter kind of bonding moment. We get to see more of Lemon's family, right? We saw Lemon's mom and her aunt, and they're like super welcoming, super caring. But I wonder what the dad's like, right? And I guess that's what we're gonna get to see. So yeah, moving forward, I assume we're just gonna get some lore drop on her dad, get some character development on him, And I guess because they're on break right now, after that we're probably just gonna go back to school, and hopefully we get Kogahara back in the story, because that would be great. And I think that character swap, like with Kogahara as well, would be a super cool concept. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see really what comes in the future of this series. You know, this was kind of a defining moment in the series, just because it seems like Lemon is being very much forward with her feelings and intentions towards Sunao, right? She's not trying to hide the fact, really, that she's kind of still in love with him, still has feelings for him. And the thing is here is Sunao isn't really like denying them either. You know, he's not like openly accepting them, but he's not brushing her off saying, hey, I'm trying to like gun for your best friend right now. But yeah, that's kind of it. I guess we're kind of just gonna have to see what goes down in the upcoming chapters. And yeah, if you guys have any intellectual takes, please let me know, because I kind of just say what I think. But yeah, that's about it. See y'all.
I run away into the world with you. I'm not afraid, there's nothing more to lose. What's for my lighter man?